Christine Finnegan, thanks for your time. I'm wearing a green tie for the third time in a week. How conscious are you that the JackJumpers have changed the social fabric of Tasmania?
Conscious and proud. Obviously, when we came here, we knew we had an obligation to the people of Tasmania. When we first spoke to the state government about putting a team here, and he said it had to be, they were very clear it had to be a team for all of Tasmania. And from the minute we got here, we were very conscious and engaging our community. And I think with Scott being the first person on the ground, and he spent so many days and hours in his car going up and down that highway to make sure that the community were engaged. So it's great that that's paid off, and we are now part of the fabric of Tasmania, and it's very special.
Was it obvious from the moment Scott Roth walked in the door, the kind of impact that he was going to have, not just on the team, but on all of Tasmania?
Well, as you know, he came before we even had a player, so he spent a hell of a lot of time in the front office with us, and I would often talk to him about, this is Tasmania's team and how we want to behave, and he would sort of look at me strangely as if to say, I don't think you need to tell me that. I get it myself, I get it already. And he has been the one. Defend the Island came from Scott's mouth. He was the very first person to say it. And when we were looking at what our mission and our vision would be, we had all of these ideas, and Scott said, for me, it's simply defend the island. And it's just resonated so beautifully throughout our business, and then so beautifully throughout the state.
What does winning the championship mean for the future of the JackJumpers?
Yeah, obviously there's a number of things that will help us build our business. I think the major thing is that this championship, particularly and the 5-game series and how it all played out, has given us a really big national and international profile. So the hearts and minds of Tasmanians were already behind us. We knew that, and now we've been able to take the brand around Australia, where everyone's second favourite team, if not now their favourite team. And I think, that's enormous, not just for us, but for the state of Tasmania. Now, people are really getting behind the Tasmania JackJumpers, and I think how special for the state of Tasmania that's often been overlooked on the national and international sporting stage.
You've had a lot of different roles across a lot of sports over a couple of decades. Have you experienced Tasmania being essentially punched down and patronised by leaders in other sports?
Look, I think, you get the odd comments about Tassie, even when I was moving here, oh really, you're going to move to Tasmania? But I knew how beautiful and important this place was. The other thing I had thought for a long time, it's a foundation football state that had been overlooked for a long time, and I knew that there was this parochial sports loving mad state here, and so if basketball was going to be the one that was going to have the entree, well, I wanted to be on that train and get here and get that started. So for me, this whole state of Tasmania thing, I think that's gone now. They can't put us down anymore. We have defended this island, but we've also said that take us seriously, because we are now a real thing on the national and international sporting stage, and of course the AFL team to follow.
So you do think that the JackJumpers are changing the national perception about Tasmania?
Absolutely, absolutely. I think there is no question about that.
What are the lessons learned from the JackJumpers for the Tasmania Devils as they try to build a club from the ground up, just as the JackJumpers did?
Look, I talk about this a lot. I think Tasmanians pick a fraud a mile away. They don't want someone coming in and telling them how to do things or how the things are going to run. So I think the important lesson is that we've built a club that looks like the people we represent. We're authentic, we're humble, we go about our business quietly, we don't shout anything from the rooftops. We do what we say we're going to do. We walk the walk, we don't talk the talk. And I think that's super important, because Tasmanians are those sort of people, very real, very honest, very authentic. And they'll pull each other down if they think someone's getting ahead of themselves. And so we just wanted to create a club that looked like that, so people could relate to us. So when they looked at us, they knew what they were looking at, and they could relate to it, and that's what's happened. And of course, membership took off very quickly. The support base outside of our membership has been enormous. And it's no one thing. It's quite intangible in setting up this club, but it's those 3 words on a wall: defend the island. And it's underpinned by authenticity and humility.
Do you share information with the Devils?
Absolutely. So I've had talks with particularly Jack Rewalt in the early days, and I know he's also spoken to Scott Roth about that. I don't think that's rocket science. I think Jack, being a Tasmanian himself, would understand what Tasmanians are, who they are, and what they need here. And Jack's a big supporter of ours. So, the fact that he has got behind us, he's been a really strong vocal mouthpiece for us. in the AFL world outside of Tasmania. So I just feel like we're better off together, exchanging ideas and defending this beautiful island together.
Do you see both clubs almost having a symbiotic relationship in the future?
I do, yeah, I do. I don't see why, we shouldn't work hand in glove. We work in different seasons. We're obviously a summer sport, AFL are a winter sport. And there's no doubt that, you fight for the entertainment dollar and the hearts and minds. But I think Tasmanians are so parochial now and so love their state that they're going to make room for two of us.
You've worked in AFL, NRL, Rugby Union, Tennis Australia. Which sport has been most supportive of women in leadership?
It's my first CEO role, so I'm going to say basketball every day of the week. And Larry Kesselman, of course, who owns our club, gave me the opportunity, and I'll forever be indebted to Larry for that. I think I have waited a long time. I've had a longer runway than most to get to this role. It's something I've aspired to for a long time, and I really do think I've had a long apprenticeship to get there. So I'm very grateful that the NBL and Larry in particular have given me the opportunity. So by far, basketball is the most progressive in this space.
What's your advice to the next generation of women coming into sport administration?
Keep persevering, because there's so many women that are at the middle management level and they leave for whatever reasons. A lot of them may leave to go and have families. And then these environments are tough because they're not 9 to 5, and juggling families in these environments are hard. But as I say that, workplaces have become more flexible in allowing them to do that. So we are seeing more women go off, have their babies and come back to the workforce in sport, which wasn't the case maybe 5 or 10 years ago. So flexible environments are starting to play a huge role in female leadership. And I think as we get better in that space, as we've become here at the JackJumpers, and I know the NBL are terrific in that space, we will see more women coming back into executive roles and therefore making their way to the top.
Christine Finnegan, thanks for talking to Stateline.
Thank you very much for having me.